Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Agi Keramidas, and this episode is the fifth in a quiet series of personal reflections. Each of them also a moment for you to pause, listen, and perhaps to recognize yourself in the questions I'm asking. If you have been following these recent episodes, and you will find a link to all of them in the show notes, then you know the thread. You've done the inner work, you have grown, you have shifted, yet a quiet question surfaces and remains. What's next? What comes next? Today, I'd like to speak about something that often stands between the life we have and the one waiting for us to step into it. And I will do this by sharing a personal story, a key moment from the early stages of my personal development journey. In 2018, I returned from an intensive 5-day public speaking training, which was my very first experience in public speaking. I was always a very shy and reserved person, and public speaking was a huge fear of mine. But that's another story for some other time. So, after I returned from that 5-day public speaking bootcamp, I was filled with knowledge, techniques, the theory, but still, apart from that training environment, I did not have any real-world experience. And then soon after, I was speaking with someone I knew who was running a local property networking event. And when I told him I just did a 5-day speaking course, he immediately invited me to speak at his event the next month. And I had been to his event, and there were usually about 40 to 50 people there. Here's the truth. When he asked me, I did not feel ready at all to deliver my first public speech. All the fearful voices in my head urged me to at least to delay, to practice more, to play it safe. But something deeper in me said, this is an opportunity. Say yes. And so I did. That, of course, brought the fear of anticipation of, what could go wrong and all those things the mind says to keep us from taking uncomfortable action, but to stay in the comfort zone. Anyway, I digress. So, when I said yes, apart from fear, that also brought commitment. And once the date of the speech was set, commitment was followed by courage. I rehearsed, I prepared. By the way, the speech was about mindset. And I still remember that when I finally stepped onto that stage that evening, something shifted. The fear dissolved, and in its place, there was a sense of presence. There was a clarity. There was not the usual fearful or disempowering internal dialogue. It was not about the speaker anymore. It was about the speaking. That event, that moment, taught me something that I have never forgotten. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action, as a result of it. And this is a pattern I have seen over and over again, both in my own personal experience and in the journeys people share with me in conversation. We tend to wait to feel confident before we act, to have all our ducks in a row, or to have, all the possible eventualities covered and so on. But what actually happens is this commitment to take the action creates the courage, and the courage to take the action builds capability, which then becomes confidence. It is a circle. You grow into it. So if there is something calling you now, a step, a challenge, a transition, and you are waiting for the right moment to feel ready to do it, I will invite you to consider this. What if the readiness is waiting for you on the other side of the decision? This is the kind of space I offer in one-to-one coaching. It's not about adding more strategies, but creating space for presence, for clarity, and self-discovery to emerge. So maybe this is your moment to say yes, not because you feel ready, but because you sense it's the right time. If that stirs something in you, then I'm here. Reach out to me using the link in the show notes and we'll have a conversation. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in, and don't settle for a life that feels smaller than the one you know is possible.